of the Rotary Club of Jacksonville. For our Zoom members, for our Zoom member, we're happy you can join us. Please remember to mute yourself and submit any questions via chat or unmute yourself and talk to us. Thank you, and we are anxious to hear from you. Thank you to our greeter, Tom Signorello, who is looking more and more every day like Randy Gordon. The prayer and pledge today will be given by past President B4.
Let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this opportunity to come together with our Rotarian family. We thank you for all the blessings that you bestow upon us in our life. God, we pray for the people in Ukraine. We pray that your spirit is there and that you provide peace and comfort where possible. Lord, we ask that you sanctify this food to our bodily needs and bless this meeting today. Amen.
Amen.
Say pledge of allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This became with us for our family time. Christy is not here. Family time is postponed. Right. But we have a craft talk from Alan Clark. Please welcome Alan.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Is that on? Just on?
No, it's not. There. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Great to be back again. 2 months in a row now. New record for a long time Rotarian since 1980 in this club.
Keep it going, Alan.
They asked me to do a craft talk or talk about the history of Rotary. I was saying, well, I've been retired 14 years, so what's my craft talk going to do? Been there, done that. But I'm going to kind of combine those because I think it's really important to talk about what we do, not only in our occupations and professions, but also what we do as Rotarians. I was very lucky growing up. I had some really good friends, some good relatives, helped me along the way, guided me out of some not too dark places, but semi-dark places. Ended up, I was born in Columbus, Ohio, but by the grace of God, became a Gator in 1959. And went to undergraduate school there and started in accounting because that was a safe major. And I figured, well, I can get a job at a CPA firm, I make good money. I really want to go to law school, but I don't think I'll have the wherewithal to get there. But as things turned out, I did go to work for a CPA firm, and I learned one good lesson in life there. I worked with some great people. We had some great clients, but I thought, Lord, I can't do this the rest of my life. I'm going back to law school. So I went back to law school. And the lesson there is, whatever you end up doing, do something you love, because it's a long grind. You know, so do what's meaningful to you and what you can do to help others. And try to live your life that way. And along the way, after I became a lawyer, came back to Jacksonville, 1980, I joined Rotary. And I'll never forget my two sponsors, Jim Truscott and Jim Tucker. Those people set me on a new course. Even though I'd been out and practiced law for a while, I thought I was involved in the community, involved in the Florida Alumni Club and a lot of other things, church. But Rotary brought a new meaning to my life because it because of the motto of service above self. And Rotary helps you connect with others, which gives more meaning to your life and your profession, no matter what you're doing. So I'm glad I made those choices. Glad I finally picked them all, and I'm glad I retired 14 years ago. My 50,000 mile warranty has worn out. Good to be here.
Let's go back and pick up Christy King for family time.
Richard, I apologize for being late. Okay, so start with birthdays, catching up on a few weeks. Past President Bill Langley celebrated his birthday on April 13th, and past President Lee Mercier celebrated his birthday yesterday on April 18th. For wedding anniversaries, past President Dean Scott and his wife Lori celebrated their 30th wedding anniversary on April 11th, and Richard Miller and his wife Peggy celebrated their anniversary on April 12th. And last but not least, member anniversaries. Past President Harvey Schlesinger celebrated 43 years with Rotary on April 17th. Martha Barrett celebrated 24 years with Rotary on April 21st. And Casey Martin will celebrate 32 years with Rotary on April 24th.
Thank you, Christy. And the day's announcements. Some fundraising news from Lisa Marie.
Thank you, President Whitworth. I think it's actually more appropriate on past President Allen's notes to mention that this really is an opportunity for us to serve and increase our membership. When we're talking about our fundraiser this year, May 007, hopefully have that date ingrained in your memories for Casino Royale. It is an opportunity for us to not only continue our fellowship, but also to serve the community, to invite others. So if you haven't had an opportunity to invite others, has everybody got their coin that they got a couple of weeks ago, the Casino Royale? If you did not get a coin, please feel free to see past President Bill Langley, and he has coins. He'll be happy to give you one. But we would like to make sure that you are giving these out because we have a lot of them, but it's an extension of who we are in our invite other members as well as serve the community. So events coming up. I want to make sure that we use an opportunity to build our membership. I know President Bill's going to be talking about potential membership stuff today. No, sorry, mouthful. May 7th, Saturday. Casino Royale. Soon you will know the secret location for those of you who have already purchased tickets. I know. Hopefully y'all caught the video from 007. It was definitely well timed. A few hints in the video about our location. Maybe you picked up on them. Maybe you didn't. Maybe you'll figure it out with the next video. I encourage if you can't attend yourself, please invite others. Extend that invitation to somebody. It's going to be a really fun event. I just participated in the Cathedral Arts silent auction and fundraising event last Friday, which was very much fun. And I am really excited about ours because I think we're going to have 10 times as much fun. So,
Question.
yes, sir.
If it's at Jay's house, will you tell him before you tell him?
No.
Sorry. Gosh, let me add that to my checklist.
Okay.
It's a Jason's
Danny.
A reminder about,
Baskets of booze. Did nobody brought baskets of
There
booze
is
today?
a basket and some booze.
All right, well, there we go. Cool. I know I sent it out this morning instead of last night. I apologize for the reminder late. Tardiness. I'm sorry, Danny.
that's right. To remind people that while it will be a fun evening, we do have to clean up
Yes.
at the end, and so make a bring a change of clothing and out of your heels, so that you can help. The more people that will help clean up, the quicker that'll get.
Tom, did you get that? Make sure you bring it out of your heels.
I'm like thinking it's all these rentals.
And I know the planning committee is planning, to be there and volunteers, but we will take additional volunteers for that as well. So, all right, thank you. Appreciate it.
And Bill Trainer is here to tell us about Paul Harris and the Temple of Doom.
You know, as I've read this book, I thought about Paul Harris trying to give a craft talk. I mean, it'd have to be divided up into like 6 months. I forgot my glasses. Oh, that's gonna be nice. Don't worry. No, I have these. They work. Okay, we left off last week where Paul Harris had come to Jacksonville and he just met George Clark, who turns out to be in many ways and as interesting a character as Paul himself. George was born in New York. His family moved to Canada, came back to the United States after a few years, and then his family moved out to Jacksonville, where they purchased a plot of land just outside of Jacksonville and they started farming. Back then, there was a tradition of apprenticeship, which was a really good idea. I'd like to see more of that happen in some of the trades here. George and his younger brother, Charles, went to work for Calvin Oak, who was a local funeral director, furniture and stone dealer. Now, Calvin is an interesting character. He had a business or two. He made guns. He had a jewelry store. He had an import business. He was an undertaker, an embalmer, a marble dealer, a furniture manufacturer, city sexton, and a superintendent of cemetery, which is probably handy. He had an interesting marketing technique because remember he's in the cemetery business. Supposedly, a ship docked at the Jacksonville Wharf. A distinguished gentleman in a top hat holding a tall iron rod greeted the incoming passengers. A beleaguered soul disembarked with less than rosy cheeks, a slight limp, or a beguiling cough. Calvin stood ready to accommodate the sick or afflicted for measuring them as a prospective client for one of his ready-made vanilla coffins. I love this marketing. So George and his brother were very good students. And finally, when Calvin gets to actually try some of his own inventory, when he dies in 1881, they wind up eventually in a funeral home. George soon acquires a partner in another marble and stone imparting company, and things were going really well. He also gets into another couple other business, express company, livery stable. And when this other partner dies, and for some reason, George makes what the book calls one of his few tactical mistakes, because he moves to Canada. Shortly after he left, Jacksonville was hit with a yellow fever epidemic, creating a vast amount of work for undertakers and affiliated companies. So after a short stay in Canada, he found out what he missed out and he came back to Jacksonville, tries to get with his brother again. They can't get along, and it wound up being 3 funeral homes right within a block of each other here in Jacksonville. And these guys are all competing with each other. So we're back to Paul, who was hired to go out and be a traveling salesman. And you're going to see the same pattern in his life that take place here. He builds up a little bit of money, doing well, and he decides, what is he going to do? Quit, go do something else. He wanted to go see a presidential inauguration. He'd never seen one. So he quit George Clark and headed for Washington to watch Grover Cleveland get inaugurated. I didn't know this. Grover Cleveland was the only president to serve 2 non-consecutive terms, which is kind of interesting because there's a guy in the background now, if he actually got reelected, would be the second one. I don't know if that's going to happen, but it's only happened once in history. But on the swearing-in day, it's bitter cold. They cancel a bunch of the activities. He's not very happy, and he decides, though, I'm going to hang around Washington for a while since I quit my job in Jacksonville. So he goes to work back to the profession that he learned in Denver, which is he's a reporter again. But that doesn't last long. He realizes after a few months that his hiking pal from California, we all remember the California episode, is not far away over in Louisville. And so he decides to pay him a visit just to find out what's going on. He decides then to find a job there. Again, he winds up in a marble and granite house, and he travels around all over the South. And I'm going to get into more of all the things he runs into there next week. It's actually next week. I won't be here. Harlan volunteered. Harlan, I'm sure volunteered. Take over reading.
Wow, all done, you didn't even turn the page. And next up, Lori Whitmer with the 50/50 raffle. Welcome, Lori.
Thanks, everyone. Get your tickets out. I was not able to count how much money we have, but I think it's close to 700 that we would split. And we have 41 cards left. The lucky winner. Okay, you need to draw the ace of spades is 091365.
What is
1365.
All right.
Who's spending money?
Spending money.
You can,
Spend it on the
Yeah.
auction.
yeah, you can buy, create a basket.
Oh.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Lori.
Please remember, board members, that we will meet immediately following our lunch meeting right here to introduce visitors and guests. Past President Jay Fletcher.
Thank you. So last week when I was here, Charlie said he threatened to invite to, have me, introduced as a guest, but I'm glad to be here as an actual Rotarian. And I will say, I'm a little bit concerned that I see Jason Burnett still online here, because rumor has it that he was coming back until he heard I was here. So I understand, Jason, you have a guest to introduce.
Yes, I do. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Great. Well, Michael Hodeling has returned, and many of you have met him. He's an appraiser with the Ron Moody Group. And I want to personally thank Michael for talking me through my knee surgery and told me a lot of what to expect, and everything he said was true. And hopefully I'll be back in person to see you guys next week. So welcome, Mike.
Past President Jason, past President Bill Langley, you also have a guest.
Yes. Katie. I'd just like to introduce Katie Bowling to everybody. She is with the Jacksonville Children's Chorus. She is their development officer and business manager. So welcome, Katie.
And generous contributor to a fundraising silent auction package.
Yes.
Are there any other guests or visiting Rotarians that didn't make the list? Hearing none, and very thankful that we still have some hiding over there. Here in Rotary, welcome you today. So glad you came along, glad you came our way. Our hand of fellowship is yours, sunshine or in rain. We here in Rotary say welcome, come again.
And past President Harlan Lost will be introducing our guests today.
No, I am.
No, okay, wrong thing, sorry. Let's go back.
ready.
Mary Alice.
We're gonna get an upgrade with Alice introducing our speaker, but I just wanted to respond to Brother Trayer here. I'm gonna be out of town this week, but I would have loved to have piggybacked on this marble granite thing for that business. And I'm wondering if the ghost of Paul Harris is available, because he would probably outmove a lot of employees we have.
Okay, well, as long as we're picking on Bill, I want to tell him that he and our speaker have something in common, homes in Highlands.
We live like a mile apart.
Well, the name and the man, Mike Hightower, are known throughout the land, at least in civic and political realms. If you read the Gear, you know that Mike has worked as a teacher in Duval County, as the head of the Farmers Home Administration for Florida, appointed by President Jimmy Carter. He's been vice president for legislative affairs for Florida Blue and chief public and stakeholder affairs officer for JEA. Mike is also a powerful fundraiser for Republican political candidates. And I imagine we have some members of this club who are recipients of that prowess. What you may not remember is Mike is past chair of the Jacksonville Area Chamber of Commerce. He was honored by having a then new venture named for him, the Hightower Emerging Leaders Program, which is one half of our talk today. The other half is for Florida House, the Florida Embassy in Washington, on whose board Mike is past chair and now board member emeritus. Please welcome Mike Hightower.
Well, thank you for being here. I was glad to see you all had to sing for your lunch. I was glad that didn't take that the wrong way. I'm going to break this up into two parts, and I'm not going to ask anybody for money for a change in the end of that. I'm not going to ask, but there will be a subtle way. I will be asking for something at the end. So I want to break this up into two parts. The first one, I want to talk about Florida House. And for those y'all have in front of you, you have some brochures. And inside the brochure, there's two brochures, one about the Emerging Leaders Program and one about Florida House. Very quickly, the reason I bring Florida House is that if we ever are able to get back on planes, trains, or cars again, to be able to travel, for those of you all who have the opportunity to take family members or associates to Washington to do whatever you want to do in Washington, please know that Florida, the state of Florida, is the only state that has its own embassy. Now, that may not sound like very important, but when you're in Washington and it is hot as blue blazes or cold, and you just want to stop, get a free glass of orange juice, possibly use the bathroom, but find out what's going on. Florida House sits behind the Supreme Court. It was a dilapidated building that Rhea Childs found and bought for $5,000 in 1972. Now, even back then, $5,000 was not a lot of money. In that part of Washington, D.C., you didn't go there even with a cop. But she bought it for $5,000, and thanks to Lawton's friends, they raised $120,000 to renovate it. And then she stayed as chair for 10 years. The last year that she was chair, the third floor fell down to the second floor. So since that time, we've rebuilt it. Florida House, as an embassy, receives no state money and no federal money. It is totally supported by the people of Florida. I encourage you all, if you're there, it's right there. You see the Capitol. As a matter of fact, there's a window that at the end of the building, it's right there on Capitol Street, is that we have this, which has now become sort of iconic for Washington for a special, is we have a window that looks right over to the Capitol. So I encourage you all, spring is coming. I know that
well, way back when I was there, me and Cortez, when he came to Mexico, but we would go to Washington and, well, on the bus with school kids. I don't know if any of your children, grandchildren, nieces or whatever do that, but I encourage you to go to Florida House. It is the one place, as Leah Child said, that you left your partisan guns at the front door. And it's been a long time since we've seen the return of civility, unfortunately in politics, but at least at Florida House, civility still reigns. It doesn't really matter what your partisanship is. We're just glad that you're Floridian and that you will come. That's where the ask is. When you read this brochure, if it's something that you think that you would like or something that your company would like, we're always open for contributions. But we take no state money, no federal money, and it is through the support of folks throughout the state. We have 9 regions in the state of Florida where we do different fundraisers. Each region has to raise $15,000 per region. We just had an event out at Fleet Landing. Martha and Mary Alice were very huge supporters there, and we raised our region. We cleared 23,000, so that goes into the pot. And one of the big things that we do every year is we ask for interns. We have a competition for unpaid interns to come and spend a quarter with us. They work part-time at the house, and then we find them a place to work in one of the congressional offices. We help them do that. And we had one of our interns this year come, who then was picked up by a congressman. Talked about the experience of a young person who went there, had that experience, and from that went on to work there. So Florida House belongs to you. If anything ever happens to it and we have to dissolve it, unfortunately, the money will go into the way it was set up. Back then, if you don't remember, Lawton was very tight with money, and very tight. And but he said if we have to, it'll go into the general fund. But he also said that's one part of the general fund that can't be used. I'm not sure what, but so we don't want it to go away. But I would encourage you to be a part of what Florida is as the only state that has an embassy that is totally owned by the residents of Florida. And we welcome you all. We welcome your family, your company. We have had multiple events. That's one of the things that you have, whether it be Rotary, whether it be local association for whatever. If you want to come to Washington, see your congressman, whatever you want to do, you'll host an event. We will be happy to help you with the caterer, do it, and you can literally walk to the Capitol. So Florida House, go online. It's a huge, huge opportunity. Just a little thought, just of how out of the miles of Bay in the 60s, when Rhea and Lawton, I think Lawton was then just a state senator from Lakeland. They went to Washington during the summer to do like a lot of us did back then. And so they took a tour of Embassy Road, and one of the kids said, well, why can't we go to Florida's embassy? And that's when Lawton and Rhea said, well, states don't have embassies, only countries. And he said, well, that's not fair. So when he became a senator, and then she was walking and saw this place, that idea came to her, and she went, then we're going to do it. So it's a unique place. We're in a renovation period, but it belongs to you, it belongs to your children, it belongs to your company. So you're in Washington, see Florida House. So take Florida House and move it over here. This one, forget what the name of it is. Let's talk about what the mission is. And this is what I'm asking you to do. When the gentleman just got up and kind of talked about when he was getting ready to go to law school, and then was going to the CPA, and also when y'all talked about that, each of you, and there's a couple of you that I've talked to who were here, kind of talked about what it was like when you first got started, people who helped you along the way. Mary Alice and Martha know this, it's a personal thing. It frustrates me when I hear someone say, I'm a self-made person, I did it all on my own. We all know that's just baloney. Somebody opened a door, somebody said, gave you a break, somebody advocated for you that allowed you to go in there, market yourself, but to talk about it. And so really that is what the Emerging Leaders Program is all about. one of the things that I've been very blessed with in my I'm in my 52nd year of doing politics, and this gentleman from Highlands, so we just had our mayor's election. We had a total of 978 registered voters. He was reelected by 71%. I told him he gets what he pays for. He charged me, did on me a martini, and we won. We got 71% of the vote. Up there, we have 2 newspapers. One's free, one's $1. They come out once a week. We have a radio station, and we have mail. You're not allowed to knock on people's door. It's a small town, as you know. Everybody's related to everybody, and it was a unique experience. We were able to raise about $44,000 for them, but they're still worried about, but it was a great election. So I was able to take what I've learned here and be a part of here, take it up there. It's a great town for anybody who has not been to Highlands, North Carolina. But going back to the idea of what the Emerging Leaders Program is all about. During the time that I had the opportunity, thanks to the support of Blue Cross Blue Shield, I was there for almost 35 years, and be involved in this chamber and be part of this community. One of the things that you have the opportunity to become chair of this great chamber of commerce, by the way, the 2nd largest chamber of commerce in the United States. I never said we were first because somebody challenged it. Nobody's ever challenged me when I said the 2nd. And nobody has ever challenged that. We're still the 2nd largest chamber of commerce in the United States. Anyway, when you become chamber chair, you're allowed to pick a project, pick a theme that you want to build around. So I picked 3. First one was military for the obvious reason. There's probably no greater town for a Navy town, but another town that, as you all probably know, that over 250,000, more than 250,000 at that time, residents who live in Jacksonville somehow have a military background or relationship that's part of the military. So to me, that was sort of a no-brainer. For me, it was a no-brainer because my father was at Pearl Harbor. The second one was a small business person, a small business. The Chamber of Commerce, and we at that time were the 2nd largest Chamber of Commerce behind Detroit, was small businessmen. That was an easy one for me because when my father moved here, he was a 1 pickup truck concrete contractor. He did sidewalks, driveways, and footers. And I can still remember, as many of you all knew, who started out with those things. My mother was a bookkeeper, and he worked it. And I still remember on Friday nights when he paid the 2 men that helped him, he paid for his vendors, that we didn't have any money because he said, Betty, if I don't pay for my vendors and I don't pay for the help, they won't be there on Monday. So hopefully next week we'll get a paycheck. And then the third one was something as you look at my bio, of all the people that have blessed and helped me along the line, and all those hundreds of people who have given me money to help other candidates. But part of that was when we would do this in the civic and political and organizations that I've worked with over the years, we always sort of talked about what happens when it gets to that point, like he just said, and a couple of y'all said who were retired. Who's going to take our place? Well, here's the reality. In a community as great as we are, when our generation, hopefully not through nature, but you make that decision that you're going to retire back from what you're doing, and who's going to be taking those places in the civic, the political, governmental, and those influencers. Here's the reality. Somebody, when you step out, somebody will step in. It's not going to save a boy. So the idea that a group of people who you see who were guest speakers, we talked about it. And that's why I didn't really get hung up on the name, because the idea of the Emerging Leaders Program is not like Hightower. It is a concept that we all probably talk about. Every one of you talk about that. I've talked to, when you talk about mentors and people, I think of, Judge Hofer. He's been a mentor to a huge number of people in this room, in this community. Each of us here, probably in your own way, is mentoring or coaching someone. So all we did was formalize what was called Impact Jacks, of taking the incoming younger generation and hoping to coach and mentor them so that when those of us who it was time to step aside, hopefully voluntarily and not being dragged off the stage, that we would share with them our life's journey, those mistakes that we made, in my case, over and over again with no different result, And, but the idea was to begin to find those young people in this community and begin a formalized coaching and mentoring program so that as those opportunities came along, they then would have that opportunity to have been coached and mentored, which we would think with the values and the mission that we think makes Jacksonville important. So what this really is which I'm sharing with you, is we are sending out recruiting for class 6 of the Emerging Leaders Program. And it talks about the program. It will give you a number of the young people who have been in class 1 through 5. It gives you a list of some of the speakers, many of those that you know, many of you have worked with, many of you probably have talked with, visited with, played golf with, done with like that. So the reason I bring this is we are, when you sort of look at our community, we should always remember that if we want our community to be better, if we want to find those people who are going to help us leave this a better place than what we found it, then the best way to do that I'm asking for you to consider is think through people who may work for you. It may be someone you are related to, somebody that you have personally known or worked with, somebody that you know in your community, synagogue, church, that you believe has that potential down the road to be a leader in this community that is going to in fact make it a better place, that you in this room have helped do it. I remember John Thrasher when he became speaker, and you know, and in his introduction, they were very generous as Mary Alice was to me. And I've never forgot the comment that he said when he said, "I stand here today as I stand on the shoulders of giants." Every one of us in this room have made a contribution to this community. Each of you are doing it every day. Each of you are making this a better place by virtue of the fact you're staying here, you're investing in it, you're raising your family here, and you're growing your business. So you're investing in it. So what I ask you all to think about is in this, you will find what the program is all about. You will see the type of young people that we're looking to recruit. We have a program, and what I've done is try to be helpful because I'm technologically stupid when it comes to this stuff. So I put on the front of it how you can get to find out about it. So if you look on the bottom of it, you'll go to myjax.com, and then there's an arrow. So when you go on the web page, the arrow means look for that thing that says search this site. You type in Hightower Emerging Leaders Fellowship, and then you push the button and it'll jump out. And then it will say in there about the application that we're looking for candidates for class 6 of the Emerging Leaders Fellowship program. So it's an incredible program. Very quickly, how we do it. If you look through it, you'll see some of the speakers. And very quickly, what we do, we have a place from 5:30 to 6. We have happy hour. And then what we will do is there's only 17 people in the class. And at that point, our guest speaker will be introduced. And that person usually will kind of have a chance to talk about their life's journey. What we encourage the speakers to do is talk about the things you did right, things you did wrong, things, in my case, how many times you wanted to rip your tongue out, step on it. And, you know, we know that this younger generation, you're going to skin your knees. You're going to make mistakes. And that's what every one of the speakers say. But the issue, the real joy of this is that everybody makes mistakes. Everybody messes up. But the important thing is to have confidence in yourself, and then to be able to have a couple of lessons learned from people who have made it, who have said, yeah, get back on. When you fall off the horse, get back on. And so what in that intimate venue is for an hour to sometimes 2 hours. One of them went almost 2.5 hours. That person just shares their life story, and then it's Q&A. And I will tell you that most, except for this year, except for 3 of the speakers this year, most of those speakers I have known through my having lived here and been able to have been mentors and coaches to me. And except for the 3 speakers that I just met this year that they had never met before, I was shocked of the candor and the vulnerability that some of the people that you will see as speakers, people that you know, people that you probably have elected, people that you have great admiration for, is the vulnerability that they shared with these young people. And it's a Q&A. And at the end, there's a wrap up. And usually, depending where we are, we will stay for a short happy hour. And it gives that speaker there. And it's totally confidential. There's no press. And as you will look through some of who our speakers are, we now have a problem with success. We have speakers who want to come. We don't have room. We only allow 8 to 10 sessions per class. So I encourage you, if you know of a young person that you think that you would like to see promoted, to have that opportunity to have a chance to meet 16 other folks. We usually have anywhere from 69 to 73 applicants. I'm glad I don't have to go through that, but I'm not part of the survey. Some incredible young folks in this community. We hear a lot about, there's enough that you read or hear about that's pretty depressing, what's going on in our country, and unfortunately sometimes in our city. But I will tell you, the young people who have been in class 1 through 5, they will make you proud every day that we have young people like that here in Jacksonville. So one, thank you for being here, Rotarians. Thank you for what you do every day for our community. Please consider Florida House, consider this. Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
What is the difference between this and leadership jackets?
We're between the ages of 24 and 35. I missed it by 1 year. It's pure. Leadership Jacksonville. I was in Leadership Jacksonville. That is really a cross section, and I was a lot over 34. But we are all about diversity. So it's really about that generation is somewhere between 24, 25, 30. They're not just out of college, they've already had some experience in the workplace from either the nonprofit or from the corporate world. And so they're sort of ready, but we don't want them to get lost. So it's an opportunity. And the other thing I do want to say is there's 17 in the class. This past year was the first time that we had more than 3 of the 17 who knew somebody in the room when they walked in. And so there's this bonding that comes out of being there together. And you can imagine the extraordinary opportunity if you just think back, if you were between 24 and 35, didn't know a lot of people, and you had that opportunity to spend a year together, it automatically just opens doors and that sharing of culture, sharing ideas. But they all have one focus of making Jackson better. Questions? Another question? Yes, sir.
You know, there are other communities around, I don't know, the United States that have similar programs for what you do?
No, sir, but we're trying to get one started in Highlands. Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Where everybody already knows everybody.
Well, but just because they know everybody, we're not necessarily know all the nice people, because they know us. No, but our community is no different than any others. Young people get together. The graduating class, I think last year was 26. The town helps give scholarships. Anybody wants to go. We all know what it's like when you go away. They may not come back. The idea is to form that relationship, have people in Highlands, like here in Jacksonville, talk about it. And there's nothing better for a young person who's trying to get through life is to have a mentor or a coach who is as passionate about the community as we hope that they will be. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Statement. So I work for the Bull School. I do alumni engagement. We are going to Cashers this year.
Uh-huh.
To see our alumni, but we're also going to Washington, D.C. So I'm going to look this up and see if we can co-star with it.
Right. Well, please come over to Highlands. We love Cashier's money. We are incorporated, they're not. Any other questions? Thank you all very much, Mary Alice.
We have a certificate for you that will remind you that we have given a donation to the Rotary Foundation in your honor for the eradication of polio, and we thank you again for being here.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the day.
Next week, our speakers will be Melissa and Matt Kramer from Growing Together, the School for Autism. The board meets in 5 minutes. There's one more announcement.
The fundraising planning committee also meets right after lunch, too, in this room, back
Yes.
corner.
And as nicely evidenced by the prayer at the beginning of our meeting, please remember that Rotary supports the ongoing efforts to support refugees from Ukraine, and that is available to you online. As we end our meeting, we recall our membership motto, each one bring one, and we join in our club motto, one's profits most, who serves best.